if there's a couple of things that I'm really passionate about, obviously small business, but also as a female, women being into small business because there's so many opportunities there. And also females exporting, because it is one of the things that we do find consistently over time. There's a big gap between female exporters and male-operated businesses exporting. And that's one of the things. So I'm not going to talk much about businesses, but this is 11%. It's not 11%. If there's one number I want you to remember today, 9%. But it's almost 1 in 10, which is a good thing. We're not back in 1963. There are a lot of female businesses out there exporting, and you'll hear a lot of fantastic case stories and from other female business operators that you might know exporting too. Almost 1 in 10 will be. But how that compares, when you look at that, you can see the overall figure is 13%. This is last quarter. It was down slightly last quarter because we're seeing economic conditions impacting export market quite a bit at the moment, and businesses sort of having some difficulties with the exchange rate. But you can see that 9% compares to 14% of male-operated businesses. So there is still a gap, and it is something that's really important to know as female business operators looking at exporting, some of the opportunities that there are in those markets. You can see business confidence, of course, over the last year has been a really rocky ride. There's still a lot of opportunities for business operators. There still are almost 1 in 4 businesses making positive sales and profitability growth out there. So there's still opportunities for growth. We are seeing that. But overall, business confidence has been hit in a large way in the past quarter. And perhaps one thing even more so is in the export markets, where traditionally we've seen exporters more confident because exporters are more exposed to the global situation that we see. And of course, if you look at the Australian economy is still performing very strongly on a world stage. Despite the fact that we're not where we were a couple of years ago, when we were at the peak economic conditions, we still are, by comparison to almost any other of the export markets you'll be looking at, performing very well. So exporting businesses have been exposed to a large extent. But really one of the main things that exporting gives small business operators is an even bigger market than you would normally have. We find a lot of businesses getting involved in export through things like e-commerce, more and more businesses selling online. And once you have your business set up so that it can be found overseas, we find that a lot of female businesses get involved into exporting just by having their online website accessible. Suddenly, before you know it, you'll have somebody maybe from overseas coming in, giving you a call or sending you an email saying, oh, can I buy some of what you've got? And suddenly you think, oh gosh, I'm an exporter. My goodness, how did that ever happen overnight? And a lot of businesses do get into export. When we did some research on case studies looking at women exporting in small business, one of the key things we found, a lot of people felt, and particularly female business operators, felt a bit intimidated by the fact, exporting, that's something like BHP does that, or, that really trendy business we read about them in the newspaper, then all the media, that's exporting sort of their thing. But no, exporting is almost for any business. And some of the case studies we tried to uncover through that study were looking at female business operators who are just perhaps, their businesses are probably like everybody's business in this room. And they had got into the export markets because an opportunity had arisen and they were able to service that market. There were business operators doing fantastic things, like a saddlery company in the Northern Territory. They had special soap that they'd manufactured. Somebody all of a sudden found them on the internet and said, we'd like some of your special saddle soap. Lo and behold, they became a successful exporting business. A costume designer who'd been found overseas, now exporting beautiful, fantastic French classical style costumes overseas to the export markets there to be used in film settings and film studios. And so there's so many opportunities. Getting your business online, making sure your business is found can really help your businesses there. We have seen things, so you can see there the value of exports really falling. And a large part of that is to do with the fact that you can see what has happened to the Australian exchange rate. Positive news is that the Australian dollar actually closed for the first time since the 9th of January above 70 cents last night at the close of Australian markets. First time the Australian dollar's been over 70 cents for quite some time now. You can see what that has done to the value of exports. But for many business operators at the moment, in the current economic conditions, exporting is still a really good thing to do, because it comes down to a couple of things really. When we're talking to businesses, there's always 2 key factors of utmost importance to any business, and everyone in the room will know this. It's customers through the door and money in the bank. Being involved in export markets means that you've got more potential customers that can come through your door. And these are some of the things that businesses are doing at the moment, obviously, to sort of try and combat the economic downturn. And a lot of businesses are impacted. But keeping those two things in check, reducing costs, keeping a check on things that are coming in and out, and making sure cash flow is okay, and advertising more to get into those markets.